and bouncing, these kinds of things, okay? It shakes the body up. It's good for the circulation. I mean, being physical and exercise, again, there are certain blood parameters, you know, that I can not prescribe anything for. No remedies, no supplements, no nothing. It's like one of those things, it's the simplest thing, and it's like, yeah. But it's the simplest thing, but not necessarily easy to get implemented on a steady basis, okay? I mean, me included, you know. Sometimes I like to run, I like to do my posture practice, you know. I mean, it's medicine. It's part of the natural life. Okay, this is a big one. So let's talk about the water. I could probably talk for like a long time on just water, and I put just the boom, the quick download is in here. Water is really interesting. We're 75, it depends on who you talk to, probably even your state, your hydration state throughout the day or throughout any given moment. It's approximately 75% water, okay? So you're a large percentage water. And are you guys familiar with Dr. Emoto? Okay, his work is really, it's been around a while now. And one of the things, the neat things that he did was he took you know, some samples of water, and they would bless it, they would pray for it, and then they would take pictures of the structure of the water, and it would turn out in these beautiful patterns, very symmetrical, okay? And then they would do the same thing. They would have a group sort of focus on a glass of water and think negative thoughts about it. And it would disorganize the pattern and disorganize the coherence of the water, okay? So with the water, you want to make sure that you have purified water. You need some sort of either some sort of a purification, not tap water, okay? Tap water has been, just note to self, just no tap water, okay? Or bottled water, for that matter, because guess what? Bottled water is tap water. There's some dude in Mississippi filling up his bathtub and calling it Dasani and making a killing. Freaking brilliant. That guy. All of it.
TAPPED.
Tapped.
It discloses the water.
And they talk about this. It's essentially they get water from municipal water supplies, bottle it up, and then resell it. Okay? It's loaded, it's fluoridated. It's got the plastic, the BPA and stuff in it, which does disrupt hormones. It's an environmental toxin. You know, so you get all of these other things in the bottled water. So we got to get away from that. The water is really important because we're mostly water, and it's a big part of what we're taking in. So in a nutshell, you want purified, clean water, either reverse osmosis or distilled or a Berkey, something like that that's going to purify the water, stage one. And then very important key, you have to remineralize that water. So we need some sort of trace mineral. Like I use something called Polarmins that my patients use, and I use that as a concentrated mineral supplement. And some people love it, some people don't love it. But what do I say? You still got to do it. Because minerals, I'm going to get into the importance of minerals, so I'm not going to take that detour right now. But the minerals actually, and natural spring water, and this is if we could get this and if you can find this, which it does exist, but it's getting harder and harder to find, is pure natural spring water. Natural spring water is mineralized. It is actually slightly acidic because of the minerals on there. Okay? The minerals on there make the natural spring water slightly acidic, and when it gets into the body, those minerals are uptaken and they have an alkalinizing effect. So take that. That is like the $1,000,000 question. So I'm gonna put a presentation, maybe perhaps some YouTubes I'm working on just water, because again, I could unpack it. I just want to give you the high points of this, and then we will just kind of stay tuned, because I am going to put just a water presentation together.
You said that the three, the RO,
Yeah.
RO reverse osmosis, a Berkey filter, and a distiller.
Or a distilled.
And we can, at the end, if you want to like ask more about it, but just unless you have an artesian well at your property and you built really down, but if you rent, you might look at a Berkey
Right.
system. If you own, you might look
This
at
is something, and it's going to be a little bit different. There's multiple ways you can go about doing this. Depends on what your lifestyle is. If you own your house, if you rent, do you have kids? Is it just you? There's different things, so there's different solutions. So this is something with my patients. We work out like, okay, what's going to work for you guys? Are we going to get a Berkey? We're going to get a system on the whole house? How are we going to remineralize it? These kinds of things. Yes?
What's this that you mentioned, Polarmin? What's that?
Polarmin's is a product that I use. It's a trace mineral. You can just jot that down. Polarmin's, and I'll give you some resources. Polar, like polar, mins, M-I-N-S. And I'll give some resources. Anything I mention or I say, I'll give you a little. I'll give you a little a resource for it. Okay. And basically, so that's we purify. Yeah, of course. I know. The thing is, there's zero regulation, and essentially it's marketing. They can say whatever they want to on that, and there's no accountability. So how is one supposed to know? How are you supposed to know that? It's so tricky. It's so tricky. It's blue gold. Yeah. It is a big deal though. So just to continue, since we did get this deep in, purified, mineralized, and then energized. Okay, energized with intention and energized with sunlight. And that is what you just need to know about water, okay? That it's important and we need to change the structure about it. Water is really interesting. There's a lot of research, really cool research in nanoparticle type research, and actually demonstrating that water has a memory and that it holds a memory of what has happened to it and what has gone on. This is very interesting if you start to consider the implications of stuff like that, okay? So again, we should have a whole thing on water. So food, we're staying real practical here. So drinking clean water, clean food. All disease patterns, I don't care what it is, are related to the food intake, the food patterns, and the digestion of that food. I don't care what it is. I don't care what your thing is, what your the CC is. I don't care what the chief concern is. I do care what it is, but in the sense that, are we going to be working on diet? Are we going to tidy up a diet? You betcha, because everything is related to how what an individual eats, how they digest, assimilate that, and how they eliminate that. Everything. This is interesting stuff. In a given day, 70, you say in the morning you get up, you have 100 units of energy, right? You have 100 units of energy. So 75 units, if you're eating 3 meals a day, 75 of those units are gonna go just to digest that food. And then what's left over, that other 25 units, you get to use for your just energy throughout the day, for your mental processes, your everything else that you're doing. You to be you and do the stuff that you need to do, you get that. So interesting to think how much energy is put into the digestion, okay? Now stay with me. Only a third of your energy, really, your total energy, is derived from food. 2/3 of your energy is derived from other things, like light, your breath, and the space around you. You're deriving food from the space around you. You're deriving food and nourishment from your breath. Okay? Protein doesn't build muscles. Protein does not build muscles. The breath builds muscle. The breath and the way that prana, that life force energy is circulated builds the muscle. Okay? So, it's interesting. The truth is, people can live 100% food free. I don't want to get totally into that territory because that's an interesting kind of a lifestyle choice that some people do. And I've experimented with that. And what I'm going to show you as we go through this is based on that technology and activating that technology in the body, because within you, your body has the memory of all of creation, from the beginning up until now. It has that memory in there. So you have all of this memory built in. It's just we have a certain set of sort of cognitions of what we think is possible and impossible. Possible, not possible. Logical, not logical. Black, white, 1, 0, on, off, right? It's really like this sort of a thing is how we've all been programmed, okay? So just know that there are many, 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 many possibilities that are happening. The prerequisite is that the cognition starts to mature and the cognition starts to shift, and then things that seemed impossible become possible. Things that seemed to make no sense, they start to make sense, right? As your cognition evolves and matures. Food is the mood. The psychiatric industry is a complete sham. It was designed as essentially a mind control experiment to create a bunch of slaves. That is the uncensored version of that. And you can look into the history of that and see where that came from. All of these diagnoses, all of these little boxes that they give to you, that the priesthood of medicine, that's kind of what they are. We go to them like they're, we go to the doctor and they're in the white coats and they have these institutions, they're churches, also known as hospitals or whatnot. We go to them and they are the priest that gives you your diagnoses. Here you go, my dear, you have bipolar. That's what's wrong with you. Clearly, you have ADHD. Let's put your 2-year-old on methamphetamine. They do that kind of stuff. They approve that. Adderall, do you guys know that Adderall is essentially methamphetamine? Like literally, if you lay those chemical structures side by side with the difference of one little methyl group, which is a very small group, and they put that on so they can patent it then.
Approved for toddlers.
It's approved for toddlers. Your 5-year-old can very easily be put on that. 2-year-old can be put on that, okay? So just again, I used to sort of tiptoe around this kind of stuff a little bit more, but it's like, what's the point? That's not doing me any good. It's not doing you any favors, sugarcoating it for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and all of this is nothing, again, I'm not making this up. It's in plain sight. All of this information, it's all there. You just need to look a little bit. The point is, food is the mood. Food creates everything that's happening in the body, and food has directly to do with the food that you eat and what you take into your body. That will reflect in your energy, your aptitude, and your mood, and your perspectives, and what you think is possible and not possible. So we've been giving this thing has happened where we've been taught to think that we live the luxury. We live a lifestyle of luxury, and what used to be occasional festivities, for, the big holidays or something, we would feast or whatever, and, feast and have big full course meals and fill the belly and everything. And it was a sign of status. It was a sign of wealth, if you could have, have these big, large meals. And now it's like every day. It's like every day, 3 times a day. 3 times a day, I'm gonna have a big breakfast and have a big old dinner, and and it's just like, it's this kind of thing. It's that feasting, and that the idea, the illusion of that choice and this wide buffet was freedom. And that freedom has gotten us to a space where we're sicker than ever and we're more trapped than ever, and you're actually less free than ever. Because what's the real wealth? The real wealth is our health, right? And feeling good and looking good and, like, you know, this kind of stuff, like being able to move around. So, I mean, it's okay to eat and have, like, nice meals and enjoy nice stuff. Be very clear, but just, again, the cognition, and develop the body and mind so that you enjoy those things and we don't rely on them, right? Again, we could go on and on and on about that, but that cognition that everything is related to the food and the food is the mood. I mean, just, you guys, even as I'm saying this, scan back and think. You know, when you overate, when you got the belly too full, and then what happened? Thanksgiving is kind of the classic example. You know, you got to sleep it off, and then you're like, oh, whew, you got to, like, work it off for like 2 days till you're back to baseline. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you guys get the point. So we're talking about consciously eating. Okay, so plant-based diet is super important. Plant-based diet for multiple reasons, and I think working toward a 50% or more than 50% live food in your diet is a good goal to have. And depending on the individual, I'm going to fine-tune that a little bit more, you know, and kind of dial that in for that person on where they at, what do they got going on, what's their starting point, because everybody's coming in a little bit different place, okay? But as your sensitivity increases, you will start to gradually shift toward having more live food in your diet, because you'll start to connect those dots, the food's the mood and the energy thing. You'll start to connect that, and you'll start to see, like, dang, when I eat kind of light and I have some live food, and then I go, like, do my stuff, I'm, like, feeling good. My mind is, like, is sharp. I feel really, really good. Energy's good. My joint pains are getting better, you know, all this kind of stuff. You start to connect those dots. And if you do that over and over, this is the natural evolution. So organic food and nutrients, this, I would say, goes unsaid, but sometimes not. You have to eat organic food. You have to eat organic food. You have to eat organic food. You have to. You eat the organic food to avoid the chemical storm that's in the food from the pesticides and herbicides and all these other things. It's still in the organic food too. Just a lot less, okay? A lot less. So we eat the organic food to avoid all of that, which are known neurological disruptors, known endocrine disruptors, known carcinogens, things like glyphosate, Roundup, these things that everybody grew up, you know, we all grew up with this stuff. We had no clue.
There's a new update with Monsanto. I don't know if you guys saw it, but with all disclosure, I think WikiLeaks just linked this. They linked emails between Monsanto and the EPA, that basically the head of the EPA was hiding in Monsanto, are going back and forth in email where they know that these Roundup and these glyphosates are causing cancer, and they just basically said, let's hide this information. So when we say let's get rid of the EPA, it's not because they're actually protecting us. They're in bed with all the other industries. And this just came out like a week or two ago, which I popped in because I'm usually pretty up to date on stuff like this. But you can read these emails between these guys, and it's disgusting. I mean, so that's why the organic is so important now, because it's literally causing cancer. Why is cancer the number one reason why we're dying? It's in the food. So.
It's the food. And again, we could get into and trace that down and go down that rabbit hole. I'm not going to do that right now. But again, all the open sourcing of information, the data that's out there now, you have to go and look at it yourself, because on the surface, sometimes it's hard to, like, tell if you just see a headline or something like that. It's just like, it's tricky. It's hard to tell what is actually happening here. But when you get in there and you read these emails, it's like, oh my God, it's beyond insane. It's so crazy. It's upside down world. It's It's totally upside down world, okay? But you have to eat organic food.
Is there not a trick, but something that gives you a red flag looking at organic food in the grocery stores that tell you maybe
How do
you
you,
should buy that?
how do you know if it's organic?
How can you trust that label?
If it's really organic? Well, that's a wonderful question, and that's a really, really good point that you're making, because what is considered organic, and they're starting to get in there and sort of fudge the standards on what qualifies as organic. So you're bringing up a really, really good point, and I'm gonna get to this, I think, in the very next thing. We're headed back to, from big far away, to small local, grassroots. And that's really, in a nutshell, the point, one of the main points that I want to make today. Natural lifestyles and grassroots. Because then, how do you know? Because it came from our community garden that's right up here, and I mineralized that soil myself, and I composted it, and I know exactly what happened to it. I know exactly everything that happened to it, from seed to harvest. I know what happened. But in the grocery store, I mean, it's a really good question. You don't.
Nines. Organic has
Yeah.
nines. So if you see like an apple, the 9 would be on that number.
Yeah.
But it's labeled.
It's usually labeled organic, and the number on there, if you look at the label, it will always start with a 9. Organic food, the little label will always have a 9 as the first number in it. So you can look and see if it's labeled organic. What's the details of that, the life story? I don't know. You don't know. Yes.
I was at our local farmer's market in Melbourne,
Mm-hmm.
and went to buy some,
Mm.
Dan had his
Mm.
stand up, some fruits and vegetables and stuff.
Right.
I said, is this all organic? And he goes, what's organic?
Yeah.
He said, organic still can have pesticides, it's just less of it.
Much less.
There's a line drawn where you can still use it.
Yeah.
And it's still considered organic.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, especially farmers markets, I've been to farmers markets across the country, and you got to quiz bowl people. You have to ask the questions. You have to ask those questions. Do you have anything to add? Because when we go to farmers markets, there is nothing, no stone unturned. No stone unturned. I just sit back and let her work.
You really like me.
I tell her, get them.
You'll never be happy at a farmer's market unless it's an organic one in some progressive city. I think practically locally, I mean, you have Healthy Happy Human if you're there. You have health food stores that have the groceries that are organic. There's also in Melbourne Beach an organic co-op that she does a really good job of screening. I don't have to. It is, I can give you the address, but it is about 1.5 miles south of Publix on Tuesday mornings. And it's a la carte, so I like that because I don't like to get a box of stuff that I don't use or need a lot more of most of the time.
You pick everything out.
So it's a la carte. But the health food stores, the answer is grow your own food or the community garden, but the health food stores are doing good. And Publix has a decent section, depending on what Publix you go to.
You don't. That's what the real point is. The point is you do the best you can as far as until you get to a point, because again, this is a learning curve on this. Because if you just hear this information, you're like, what, I got to grow my own food? Okay, I got a job, I got kids. You know what I'm saying? You get overwhelmed. You're like, how am I supposed to do that? So the practical side of it, that's why I'm back out doing these talks like this, because I have to be real life. It has to be grassroots. That's the only way this is going to happen, is if we talk about this and we actually get together in real life and not just Facebook-like, where we can drive by and give it a thumbs up and keep going and forget about it, and it means like nothing. In real life, we have to get together with the people that that are around you, and you have to start talking about this stuff with people that are in the know. You talk about it a little bit more and you get deeper into it. You start getting solution oriented. That's the point.
One thing, you're avoiding GMOs. When you still buy organic, you are avoiding GMOs, which are also causing cancer.
GMOs.
So that is for sure, at least right now.
Right.
And you might get, I mean, you don't know if you buy organic carrots at Publix, you can't guarantee. It might have 1 or 2 pesticides on it, but the other carrot has 24 pesticides on it. So even if, you know, if that's the dilemma, well, you're going to get a lot. I mean, 24 versus 2 is still a big difference. And then the pure food you have to grow yourself, or you have to have someone in the local community that we know is growing it.
Yeah.
It would be nice to know these people.
Well, I want to make sure, that's again, it's partly how we're here and why we're here, because I got certain connections. You guys know stuff that I don't know. You probably know people that I don't know, or you know what I'm saying? So we got to connect. So I want to, and of course, I want you guys to make sure that you leave your email, and because I'm going to follow up with everybody and start to kind of connect these dots. That's part of what I want to happen. So this is just, it's just a little bit of a kindling that we're doing here today, and the real firestorm happens after we all disperse. Okay, so this is where we're going. This is the whole future, and this is, I just call it the grassroots. It's back to grassroots, like standing firm and keeping it real in these things that we know. Put some stuff in here. Some of this stuff it's out there everywhere. The microbiome is a big deal. So essentially, the take-homes here are neurotransmitters. Where are the majority of neurotransmitters produced in the body? Things like serotonin and things that are known as your feel-good neurotransmitters. They're produced in the gut. It's not in the brain. And the whole SSRI, again, I kind of, we sort of tipped on that, the serotonin reuptake and all this depression, blah, blah, blah. It's all a wash. It was a theory that never had any ground to stand on and had the money to push it. But the real deal is in a gut-brain axis. The food's the mood, gut-brain axis. And if you have a healthy gut bacteria, then that's actually pro-life, probiotics versus anti-life, antibiotics, okay? There's many, you're more bugs than you are person. Just be very clear. You're more bugs, way more, like 97% bugs you are, and 3% person. No, really. You are a cloud of bugs. Seriously, and this is where you will see this in the future of medicine, and we will be doing this kind of stuff. But this is, again, what's the solution? Eat some dirt, go play outside, don't wash your hands so much, don't use all that sanitizer and all that stuff, throw it out, it's total trash. Though it does not, anyway. Microbiome, food's the mood. Do you have something to add on that one? Fermented foods, cultured foods. Again, these are part of things like kimchi and yogurts, things like this. A lot of they're part of a natural diet. They're part of traditional diets, fermented foods and different things like that. What's that do? And really nice for you to make those, because when you do that, the bugs are going to be from what's around your house, from what's in your state, in your country, in your neighborhood. It's going to be a different little bit of a zoo than if I go to New Delhi and I do this. You know what I mean? That's why people get...
Activia.
Huh? Activia.
Activia, the yogurt, is from... The probiotics are from rats.
Yeah.
What did you just say?
Yeah, Activia. Do you know? The rats.
What's the best kind to eat?
Of what?
Of the
Ferments?
Of the yogurt.
We do a coconut yogurt, but honestly, if a coconut yogurt or a yogurt where
Because in the store,
it's dead, there's no probiotics in it there, because they're living things, right? And how do you think it's going to be if it's been transported? I don't know how long it's been in that truck. I don't know how much it was heated and cooled back down. The bugs are dead.
really cheap.
The bugs are dead. It's not, it's kind of the water bottle thing. It's like there's no accountability, there's no regulation, and I'm not for like hyper regulation of anything, but it's just, there's no accountability. You know, people need to be, I'm for people being honest and telling the truth and being transparent about stuff. How about that as a strategy, you know? I mean, give us all the facts, tell us what's going on, and then let you choose accordingly. That's kind of what we're doing today. So you can have the cognitive shift and then make a good informed decision. Like,
eat activity, we just don't want you guys eating it.
yeah. Well, and now every time you do, you're gonna think about this. So you're welcome. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Here, I got to keep going. I got so many things here. Okay, I'm gonna start going really fast. Cholesterol, I just love to blow this one totally out of the water. Statins, a total disaster. If you are on statins or you know someone that's on statins, please refer to the disclaimer that I gave at the beginning of the speech, but immediately discontinue them. Immediately discontinue them. The long-term stuff is starting to come out on statins, and they are inducing pancreatic failure and diabetes. They're inducing Alzheimer's and dementia. They actually are increasing MI, strokes, cardiovascular diseases, the very things that they said they were going to prevent, okay? This is, again, it's another complete sham. You need cholesterol. Cholesterol is vital for your well-being. There is I should put it in here. There is just imagine a metabolic pathway, okay? A pathway, if we were to sort of draw like a pathway out. You have cholesterol here, and guess what's downstream? That's cholesterol is the starting point. It's the building block for everything downstream, like all your hormones, all the hormones, the testosterone, the progesterone, the estrogen, the stress hormones, all of these things. So if I cut that off, it's like my river. It's like my river's flowing down, and it actually provides water for the crops and drinking water for everybody south of me. You get the point. Everybody south of me, if I cut that off, what's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to their drinking water? What's going to happen to their food supply? You're going to get away with it for a little while. Nobody's going to notice. They're not going to know what I did, that I dammed this off, and that this thing is happening. But it's happening. And the data is out there. That's all I can say. The data is out there. Cholesterol is not the boogeyman. You need cholesterol for your brain health, for your cardiovascular health, for your hormonal health. It's very, very, very important. And when we disrupt that, bad news. Okay? And this is what's tricky, is it doesn't happen overnight. This kind of stuff takes 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years to actually unfold and happen. So that's what they say when, Bill, who has high cholesterol, and doctor put him on a statin 15 years ago, and then he ended up having a heart attack anyway, or he got diabetes and ended up having some heart disease. What? He was on a statin, he's been treated, he had the best cardiologist in Miami, whatever, that's always the story. I had the best cardiologist, the best medical doctor. And it's like, well,